Ellie is in pain. We understand she's in physical pain because she was really hurt. But more than that, it's quite clear she hasn't left that room in a way. She is still on the floor watching it happen.
I love episode 3. It does something that we just couldn't do in the game. In the game, after Joel dies, because the mechanics of the game are very action-oriented, the mourning period is relatively short. And here we could take almost an entire episode and really feel the loss of this character. There's this really beautiful scene where Tommy comes in and he has to clean up his brother's body.
I've thought about that scene quite a bit. You know, I call it the one-man wake. It was definitely a very long night shooting that scene.
Pedro and Gabe are kind of like brothers, and you could see how much they love each other, and in a way it's like one character saying goodbye to his brother, but also another actor saying goodbye to someone that's really close to them.
There aren't many shows where you would build an entire house for a character who's just died. Because normally that would be one of the hero sets and it'd be filmed relentlessly. The exterior had been seen and the interior had not. And we needed it because Ellie has to make a very moving, emotional journey through that house to kind of do her grieving in private.
Ellie's headspace at the beginning of episode 3 is dark. It's like the stages of grief, right? I think she's so broken and numb and then becomes incredibly angry. Shooting the scenes in Joel's house were sad, really sad. There's a couple of takes where I really cried into his jacket.
I was operating that shot and I was crying with her because it was so strong.
Uncomfortably close was one of my constant words. Being uncomfortably close to people so that their pain is so much more powerful.
So the entire town of Jackson suffered. I have a problem sometimes in television shows where a character we care about loses someone in a battle where a lot of people lose people, and those people matter too.
Part of the point of the story is the rebuild, and they're beginning that process. You know, rebuild, restructure, do it stronger, do it better.
I think losing Joel, it triggers a lot of emotions among the community. It's one thing to be barricaded and protected, but then when one of your own gets killed by an outsider, it strikes a nerve. And that is an impetus for some great changes going forward.
We are recovering as a community. We have to move forward. And there's a town hall meeting, which is something that Neil and I thought would be an interesting addition to the way the plot unfolds in the game, to give everyone a chance to comment on how this ought to go. And there are two very particular points of view that are articulated here. One is the forgive and forget, and the other comes from a very unexpected person, Seth.
They came into our house. They took one of ours.
We saw him be a bigot towards Ellie and Dena on episode 1. And here he is the one that is standing up to help Ellie. And you might not think that would be the case, but people are complicated. And a guy that's bigoted in one moment could still love Ellie and has still loved Joel and knows what happened to Joel was wrong.
So when Ellie has to come to the council and convince them all, she is very calculated about how she does it.
We see Ellie, despite her instinct, try to slow things down because she just wants to say, fuck all of them. I want to pursue them to the ends of the earth and I want to make them pay. But she can't say that because that's not going to win her argument. She's trying to make the case that this is what's right for this community. This is what justice would look like. She's trying to appeal to Maria, who used to be a prosecutor, and she's saying things that sound right, but not necessarily that she believes in.
When I first read that, I would think that Maria would say no. And then Craig gave me a little hint. And then when I really thought about it, I was like, nah, she said yes. She said, absolutely. This is not necessarily for Joel. This is for us.
do what it takes to see that justice is done. Not for me. Not even for Joel. I am asking you, please, do it for us.
This is for sure a multiple camera situation. We had 4 cameras working. It's not only about getting coverage, it's also to get as much fresh performance from all the actors as you can.
It was massive. It was 6.5 pages, I think, which we shot all in one day. It was just so much more powerful because you haven't got to go again and again and again for a single camera to be in all of those different places.
For me, as I was doing that speech, there were times when I really got into it. She starts to sort of believe herself. It's still emotional, like the weight of it is still there.
Bella can read things like nobody else. As they say, I could watch Bella Ramsey read the phone book and I would be intrigued.
The result of the council isn't like the highest stake ever because she knows. She's already decided that she's gonna go after whoever killed Joel.
Ellie's picking up Joel's gun, which should symbolize to our viewers what Ellie wants to do.
The problem for Ellie is, just because you want something like that doesn't mean you can get it. And that is where she's gonna need an ally. And in fact, the ally is the person that was there the whole time, Dena.
Dena's role for Ellie is vital because it kind of acts as a balancing part of it, or at least a voice of reason. Is there another way, or should we be thinking this differently? If it hadn't been for Dena, this episode would have been very short. She would have just packed her stuff and gone and not had enough stuff. But because of Dena, she's got everything she needs.
Dena's a ride or die. I was just like, yeah, this makes perfect sense. Like, of course, Dena would then plan it out and have a whole map, situation, everything. She supports Ellie through and through.
There's a lovely line where Dena says to Ellie, I loved him as well, you know. It wasn't just you. And that, again, is another great moment for Dena, where you suddenly see some breaks going on a little bit, and an understanding in Ellie, which is easy to overlook.
For the first time, we get a glimpse of Seattle, and we meet these people that we don't know from our story here in the show. They appear to be religious in nature. They talk about somebody called the Prophet. They seem peaceful. In fact, they are fleeing a war. And who do we meet leading this small procession? A father and his little girl.
Season 2 is an extension of some of the stuff we've seen in season 1, which is like different kinds of communities and what they had to go through to survive. And now we get to see this other group that survived through religion.
Prophet isn't magic. They're just people that see truths hidden from others and share that truth no matter what the cost.
To the people on the outside, they might appear as a cult. For them, they have certain values and certain beliefs that have kept them alive.
So it was with our prophet.
Dena and Ellie discover the aftermath of what happened with those Seraphites. And what Ellie sees is a massacre. So there is a cycle of violence out here that's going on. We just don't understand what it is. But Ellie's feeling is, if it's the WLF, the people that Abby's associated with, then they really are the truest monsters of them all. And they need to find them and punish them for reasons beyond simply Joel.
Let's go.
Ellie and Dena set forth on this journey. We get the sense right away that Ellie's force of spirit will be what drives everything forward, but it is Dena's thoughtfulness and intelligence and prudence that will keep them both alive. Here also on their path is a sense that their friendship is maybe more than friendship. Ellie's trying to figure it out. On the one hand, Dena sort of says it's not, and on the other hand, kind of says maybe it is. Hard to tell.
You've kissed girls before. You're gay, I'm not. I'm just curious. Want to know if I'm any good at it. 1 to 10.
Okay, fine, 6.
Fuck you, 6.
That's not bad.
That sucks. record, I don't believe you.
Isabella and Bella were together a lot, and we were really just seeing the beginning of that. But there's a lot of scenes where we're just finding our way. They are finding their way.
But the two of them now are our pair. We are a show where two people a lot of times are alone, getting from one place to another, and now our two people are Dena and Ellie. And on the way, one of my favorite scenes in the show is where they stop to just look at Joel's grave. Characters grieve him, but I wanted us to be able to grieve him too, to almost let myself go to a funeral for a moment before allowing these characters to then progress to their final destination.
I think when Ellie loses Joel, she really becomes him, steps into his shoes. He was her hero and her role model, despite everything. It's basically like the equivalent of losing a father. It's losing the only person she ever had, the closest thing to family that she ever knew. It's like losing her entire world. And so in that, I think she becomes him.
It's lovely little things like Ellie puts the gun across her arms like Joel used to do. And having her at the front of the horse, not at the back. All these little visual things that you're like, wow, just seeing it and seeing this new way of the show being alive. This is us taking on a new journey. She's so focused, but the world is getting bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. The whole show, it's about why we survive. Not just that we survive, but why we're doing it. What are we doing it for? Who are we doing it for?
And at last they arrive in Seattle. It's oddly peaceful and oddly beautiful. So maybe this will be easy.